Nigeria's Federal Executive Council says the government is working hard to put an end to petrol scarcity before the end of May. President Muhammad Buhari met with members of the Federal Executive Council to discuss the state of the nation.
The position rightly is divided into about 3 or 4 causative factors. The first, obviously, like we informed the Council, are fiscal. Fiscal in the sense that by the time we came in last year, there was over 600 billion in subsidy that hadn't been paid through 2014 and 2015. And producers or marketers had got a point where their liquidity had become very challenged, and most of them had gotten out of the business, so they were not importing. Through the effort of the kind intervention of the President and the Assembly and all of us working together, we got that money paid about November. But so soon thereafter, there were no credit lines. There were no LC lines to be able to bring in products. So what then happened was that he suddenly saw NNPC, whose traditional responsibility is to bring in 55% of refined products into this country, move to 100%, almost 100% coverage capacity, because the private sector wasn't bringing in product. And that's largely been the major cause of the problem. So that's fiscal. Of course, on the logistics side, pipelines were not working when we came in. Refineries had not produced when we came in. All kinds of logistics issues. So even when you find a product, getting it up country and distributing it efficiently was a big problem. And then finally, obviously, there had never been just a strategic reserve in this country over the last 10, 15 years. And the last time was empty Tuma. That was the last attempt. When you don't have strategic reserves, what it means is that whenever you have a logistic or fiscal hiccup, it hits you right at the belly button because there's nothing to replace it. Now, but complaining is not so much the issue, just to tell you the history. But what we've tried to do, and it's been a huge amount of work over the last 1 month, 6 weeks, is one, to try and flood the market with products. Today we're in a position where we can say that between this month and at least October, we have cargoes in excess of what we should need. So we have addressed the supply issue. Addressed it through, one, finding some FX funding from major producers to the downstream sector, and then also taking liberty of taking more crude to be able to address the issue of providing products for the country. So we're in a position where we are fairly confident we have enough. I think last week we had about 11 cargoes in. This week we have about 10 cargoes in. For the month of April, collectively, we have over 38 cargoes, much more than any other month in the history of this country since 5 years. So we're addressing the supply aspect.
Now, still at that meeting, short-term and long-term plans were also made to revamp the nation's refineries before the end of 2017 and also put an end to importation of petrol by 2019.
We're also putting a lot of energy in terms of the infrastructural aspect. I'm sure you've seen in the papers all the advance in terms of a refinery upgrade, in terms of depot upgrade, in terms of co-locative refineries. So we're taking everything, because unless you deal with the systemic issue, these things will keep coming back, which is what has happened over the last 10 years. And so we're hoping that by July, we would have been able to sign up the agreements that will enable the upgrade and joint venture management of the refineries to take effect. We expect that to last for about 12 months, which means that sometime late 2017, we should have all the refineries back in the form where they ought to be. The target is that in 2018, we would actually reduce fuel import by about 60%. And that by 2019, when the co-located new refineries, which are training a total of 300,000 barrels, are in place, we're actually going to exit importation of refined petroleum products and begin to export petroleum products. So we're looking at long-term solutions to these problems.